Hello everybody, this is Antandra, and today in this episode we're going to talk about spectral synthesis. So I'm in Logic Pro Audio, Logic Pro X, so that I can show you Alchemy synthesizer's spectral capabilities. It has a lot of other capabilities as well, including some of the other types of synthesis we covered in previous videos. But today we're just going to look at its spectral. So let me go ahead and open up Alchemy. And basically this is the default preset, but if I close this out, this is what you'd see if you just loaded up Alchemy and then went to initialize preset here in file. It's just a sawtooth wave. So if I go here to edit, and then right up here you can see there's main, additive, and spectral. Spectral is the one we're going to be looking at today. And as you can see, you can actually draw in here. There's a few tools for drawing, so in selecting and erasing, and you can either draw or mask items. So let's do a little demo of that. And basically what you're seeing here is the audio spectrum. So lower drawing will make a lower frequency and higher drawing will make a higher frequency. So if I were to move these markers around and play this back on my MIDI keyboard, it's pretty quiet. If I increase the level, you can kind of hear something there. Now if I close this out, let's turn up the level here. And if I close this, you can see here on the spectrum, that's what's happening based on what we drew there. So let's go back in and draw a little bit more. And these are the loop points. You also have start and end points. And what's cool is you can also, if I clear this, you can import an image. So I took a screenshot of a spectral readout from Isotope's Insight. And if we import that, we have this. We can move this start point. Let's move these loop points as well. So let me show you how I did this. Basically, if I clear this out, I can go over here and open the sample browser, or let's go to Apple Loops, and I can take any sound. Sure, so we'll take that. I'll unmute this track. Alright, so now we have you can change the options here and get some different results as well. So let's mess with these settings. We'll leave it on 2D and we'll do 2-color, and we can change the overlap for some different effect and FFT size. So let's try that. So I hit freeze up here, and now I can take a screenshot of just this spectrum right here. So if I hold Command-Shift-4, then I can actually select just this spectrum here, which is what we want, and I can get that. Then if we go over here to Finder, I can just put this into this folder that's a shortcut to my spectral images path inside of Alchemy, which I just created an alias for the folder that's hidden deep inside music, and it's in like music apps and Alchemy, plugin settings, and Alchemy and user library, library spectral images. So now the screenshot shows up here. Now if I go back to Logic, I can close this, and let's go back to Alchemy Synth. And if I go here to Edit, I can go to Image, Import Image, and you can also import an image as a brush, but we're just going to import an image. And it doesn't have to be an image of a spectral wave, obviously. You could just load an image of anything, but I'm finding this to create some interesting results, so let's try it out. That's the image from before. If I load up this one that we just made, then we get something like this. You can move around to different parts of the wave. And so that's pretty interesting. We can also try a different one. If we go back to this audio track, we can change some settings here. So let's see, you go to Options. Let's try 512 and less overlap. And we'll leave it on black and white. Let's see what this sounds like. Alright, so again I've clicked on this freeze button, and it just keeps it there still, so I can take a nice screenshot here, Command-Shift and 4, drag around, and now it's on the desktop, so I'm going to move that file into my default spectral images file folder, and now let's see how this one differs from the previous one. So we'll go back to Alchemy, and we're going to clear this, and we can import again. Okay, so I don't see the image there. So I'm going to go back to the desktop. There's the image. Yeah, so I'm going to drag that into here. There we go. Now we can go ahead and load that up. So that was the one from before, and this is the new one. So you get some pretty bizarre results sometimes. I could also go in here and erase some of it. Or draw some other stuff in here. So you can have a lot of fun with this, and just playing with different settings. You can change the stereo mode here, so you can have two different spectral patterns going on at once. You can change the resolution. So the possibilities are pretty endless. Yeah, in Alchemy you can also load a waveform into the Spectral by going to Import Audio. And then you just choose Spectral down here, and you can choose any audio like this. And that'll load it up. And then you can mess with the spectral form here, change the loop points, same as before. Draw on top of it. And if you go out of the editor here, you also have this spectral tab where you can edit using these modifiers here. So I just had these two turned on. So that's what it sounded like without those. You can go between pitch and noise. And these modifiers have a lot of different cool effects in them. And then over here on the Format tab, you can also do some format stuff to spectral audio or spectral synthesis stuff. You can even choose different vowel types over here. Or different filters, whatever you want. So definitely a powerful synth in the spectral realm. So now we're going to look at Isotope Iris. And let's get span open back up here. so iris. This is also a spectral synthesizer, and it's got quite a few tools. You can go to 4 different oscillators and load in a sample. So take like a B sound, for example, and then it just sounds like this. If I play in the right octave, you can hear it better. And then you have all these editing bits over here, so I could just select parts of the spectrum. You have this crossfade here, so you can see the waveform it makes, or the actual spectrum itself. And so you can also select some area here. Make a riser. And you can see over here visual representation of the frequencies. So that's pretty fun. We can also try a different sample. So if I clear the selection, and let's go to, say, an instrument, let's try an accordion. I'll play in a lower octave. And I can go ahead and select some parts of that. Or create some kind of riser effect out of it. It's kind of like a filter in this case, but it's really great for making filters, spectral stuff. And it has some crossover with additive synthesis, but it's more of the full spectrum rather than just the harmonic series. So it has more inharmonic content as well. Although you can do inharmonic content in additive, but not all synths are designed to do that. And so you have quite a few tools here you can explore, and you can also start mapping stuff with LFOs, and this is just one of 4 different spectral oscillators. And yeah, I don't think you can do images in this one, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can load samples, and it's quite cool. A lot of power in this one. Comes with a huge sample library as well, so definitely recommend. A little higher on the CPU usage, but if you bounce to audio often, you won't bog down, and you can get some really unique sounds out of this one. Let's like layer a couple sounds here and see what happens. So we'll get a bell. And And let's try something else as well. So you can get the idea pretty quickly. You can start to build up really interesting sounds. It's almost like a combination of spectral and granular synthesis at a point. If I just select a short snippet of the sound, a lot of possibilities for sure. Let's try a different sound here. Pretty cool. Alright, so we'll go ahead and move on. Next synth we're going to try out is Thorn from Dimitri Chess. So this one's pretty awesome as well. You've got this nice harmonic spectral filter, and you got these spectral oscillators over here. So they're also wavetables. Can combine some of that subtractive synthesis using the filters, and right here you can draw on the spectrum, or you can select one of these presets. Get some pretty unique results. Yeah, if you open this up, you can select a preset and really mess with it in here. You can draw only odd harmonics or even harmonics. Or freeform, or like an organ. And just go ahead and save your presets there. Yeah, so you can also load a scale in here apparently. I haven't tried that, but that's pretty interesting. And it shows you what bin you're on, what phase and amplitude. So there's some crossover between additive synthesis here, but it's more of a filter, and you have this free mode. Yeah, so that pretty well covers this synth's spectral functionality as much as I wanted to in this video. Next up, we're going to take a look at Europa from Reason. And here's the default preset that loads up. Let's turn that up. And this one's also a wavetable synth that generates its waves using spectral methods. And you also have a spectral filter, as well as a spectral modifier for harmonics. You also have a spectral modifier here for the oscillator with different spectral effects. Now if I turn these waves off, and let's just hear this one. It's a very powerful synth as well. And a good example of what can be done with using spectral techniques. So this is routed to LFO1 by default, so it's just modulating it using this LFO here. And so if I change this, I can start to shape the sound however we like. You have some nice filters here too that are spectral, and you can load your own waveform and have that interpolated by the spectral engine. So if I load, say, this format sweep, then up here I can select user wave or user wave smooth. And I can also select that for the filter, which is really interesting. So yeah, that's all we're going to cover for today, but I hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, I'm Antandra. Have a wonderful day.